I'm 88 years old, and there's one sound I've learned to hate in the middle of August. That air conditioner starting up again. Not because I don't want it. At my age, I'm not going to sit in a hot house just to save a few dollars. I hate that sound because I know what it means. The machine has been running half the day and the back bedroom still feels warm. By the end of the month, there is another electric bill waiting. For years, I thought the answer was the thermostat. Too warm? Turn it down. Still uncomfortable? Turn it down again. Then I realized I was asking that machine to fight problems that started wrong before the air reached the vents. Sunlight pouring through one window. Cool air slipping out somewhere I couldn't see. Even one ordinary thing sitting in the wrong place can fool an air conditioner into running longer than it needs to. And one of the biggest places I was losing cool air wasn't even inside the air conditioner. That bothered me, because I wasn't just paying to cool my house. I was paying to let summer back in, then paying the air conditioner to push it back out again. So I went back to the simple things my family did before anybody talked about energy efficiency. I kept the ones that still make sense in a modern house and changed the ones that don't. Here are 17 of them. Number 17. Close the shades before the heat arrives. The first thing I do on a hot morning costs nothing. I close the shades before the sun heats the room. I used to leave everything open because I liked the morning light. Then I would wait until the room felt hot. By then the heat was already inside. The glass was warm. The floor was warm. The furniture in that patch of sunlight was warm. Now my air conditioner had to remove heat I could have kept out for free. So on windows that get strong morning or afternoon sun, I close the shades early. Not after the room gets uncomfortable. Before. Stopping heat from entering is easier than paying a machine to remove it later. Number 16. Stop the sun before it reaches the glass. My mother understood this without knowing a thing about energy ratings. On the hottest side of the house, she cared about shade. A porch roof, an awning, an outside blind. Anything that kept hard afternoon sun from beating directly against the glass. Once sunlight comes through, the heat is already where you do not want it. I'm not saying you should cover every window until the house feels like a cave. I mean the few windows where summer sun pours in for hours and turns one room into an oven. Shade those from the outside when you can. The old idea was simple. Stop the heat before it becomes an indoor problem. Number 15. Open the house only when the outside air has earned its way in. My mother opened the house at night, but never just because the sun had gone down. She waited until the air outside was actually cooler than the air inside. Then she let that cooler air move through and closed everything again before the next day heated up. If the night is still hot and heavy, especially in a humid place, opening every window can bring in more heat and moisture than you wanted. So I do not follow the clock. I follow the air. If the evening turns genuinely cooler, I let the house breathe. If it stays hot and sticky, I keep the windows shut and let the air conditioner work. Use free cool air when nature gives it to you. Shut it out when it does not. Number 14. Let the fan cool you, not an empty room. For years I treated the ceiling fan like a little air conditioner. I would leave it running in an empty room and think I was helping. I was not. A fan does not cool the room. It cools you. Moving air across your skin can make the same room feel comfortable without pulling the thermostat down another degree or two. Energy Star says using a ceiling fan can let you raise the thermostat about 2 degrees and still stay comfortable, cutting air conditioning costs by as much as 14%. That is real money for moving air across a person instead of cooling an empty chair. When I leave the room, I turn the fan off. Number 13. Try the old paper test. Take an ordinary piece of paper and close it in the edge of a window or door. Then pull. If the paper slides out easily, that seal may not be holding tightly. Sometimes your hand can feel a leak. Sometimes a curtain moves when it should not. And sometimes a piece of paper tells you enough. I especially check older doors, often used windows, and frames that no longer close as firmly as they once did. Number 12. Weatherstrip what moves. Caulk what does not. There is an old rule that keeps this simple. If it moves, weatherstrip it. If it stays still, caulk it. Weatherstripping gives a moving door or window something soft to close against. Caulk seals fix cracks without getting in the way. A thin crack never looks important, but give hot air enough little openings around an old house, and your air conditioner spends all afternoon replacing cool air you already paid for. I do the inexpensive sealing first. Sometimes an old house does not need a new window. It just needs its little gaps closed again. Number 11. Treat a window unit like a hole in the wall. Do not just look at the machine, look around it. A window unit sits in an opening that used to be closed tight. If the panels, foam, or edges are loose, hot outdoor air can slip in while the machine pushes heat back out. I run my hand around the sides and underneath. If I feel warm air coming through, I seal the gaps with the right foam or weather stripping and make sure the side panels fit tightly. Paying to make cold air while summer leaks in around the machine never made sense to me. Number 10. Move the lamp away from the thermostat. This took me longer to notice because nothing looked broken. The room felt comfortable, but the thermostat sat near a lamp that stayed on for hours. That bulb warmed the air around the thermostat. So while I was comfortable, the thermostat could still think the room needed more cooling. The same thing can happen with direct sunlight, a television, or another heat source nearby. So I keep that little patch of wall plain and boring. No lamp heating it, no afternoon sun hitting it. If the thermostat gets the wrong story, the air conditioner follows its orders anyway. Number 9. Stop blocking the air you already paid to cool. I used to have a heavy chair almost in front of a floor vent. But a sofa, curtain, rug or piece of furniture over a register can get in the way of the air your system has tried to move. So I make sure supply vents and returns have a clear path. There is no sense paying to cool air and then trapping it behind furniture. Number 8. Do not heat the kitchen at the hottest hour of the day. I used to turn the oven on at 4 in the afternoon. Then I wondered why the kitchen felt miserable and the air conditioner ran without stopping. The answer was right in front of me. I was heating the house from the inside. On the hottest days, I change the timing. If I want to bake, I do it earlier. For a small meal, I use a smaller appliance when it makes sense. Some evenings I choose a supper that does not ask the kitchen to become another furnace. My mother never called that energy efficiency. She just knew better than to build a fire in the hottest room at the hottest time of day. Number 7. Do not make your air conditioner breathe through dirt. Every bit of air moving through your system has to get past the filter. When it gets packed with dust and pet hair, airflow suffers and the system works harder. During the months when mine runs every day, I check the filter regularly and replace it when it is dirty. My mother had a simple rule about anything that needed air. Do not make it breathe through dirt. Number 6. Take care of the machine before you replace it. I used to assume that if an air conditioner struggled, the whole thing was wearing out. That can be an expensive assumption. A dirty outdoor coil, a worn part, or a system that has gone too long without service makes the unit run longer. It gives less cooling, so I have mine checked before the hottest weather settles in. I let a qualified technician handle the parts I have no business touching. At 88, I am not climbing around equipment. I am not taking panels apart to prove anything. I want the machine cleaned, checked, and doing the job it was built to do. Number 5. A hot room is a clue, not a reason to lower the whole house. For years I had one bedroom that always felt warmer. My first reaction was to turn the whole house colder. That made the comfortable rooms too cold, while the problem room was still not right. Eventually I stopped treating one hot room like a thermostat problem. A room that never catches up is a clue. Maybe it gets more afternoon sun. Maybe there is an air leak. Maybe the insulation above it is thin. Or maybe its duct is not delivering enough cool air. Do not make the whole house colder just to satisfy one stubborn room. Find out why that room is different. Number 4. Before you tear old windows out, try a cheaper fix first. Old windows get blamed for almost everything. A room feels hot, somebody points at the glass and says, "Those windows have to go." But replacing every window can cost a small fortune. If an existing window still works properly, a suitable low-E storm window or another window attachment can improve performance. You may not need to tear the whole thing out. I would rather fix the problem than replace something simply because it is old. Old does not always mean useless. Before I spend thousands of dollars, I want to know whether a less expensive layer can do enough of the job. Number 3. Find out where your cold air disappears. That frustrated me, because you cannot see it happen. The air conditioner can be running perfectly. Cold air can leave the equipment, and some of it may still never reach the room where you are sitting. Ductwork runs through attics, crawl spaces, basements, and places most of us rarely see. Loose connections, gaps, or damaged sections can let cool air escape before it reaches a vent. Energy Star says leaky ducts can reduce a heating and cooling system's efficiency by as much as 20%. You can lower the thermostat all afternoon and never fix a hole you cannot see. If sertoroos stay uncomfortable or airflow seems weak, have the ductwork checked. If the system runs far longer than it used to, the ducts may be leaking. I do not crawl through an attic looking for leaks myself. I leave that to someone qualified. But I ask the question now. Where does the cold air go between the machine and the room? Number 2. Look at the attic before you touch the thermostat again. On a blazing summer afternoon, an attic can hold an awful lot of heat. If the ceiling below it is poorly sealed or does not have enough insulation, some of that heat keeps working toward the rooms you are trying to cool. Then we stand downstairs and blame the air conditioner. But lowering the thermostat does not fix a house taking on heat from above. Energy Star estimates that sealing air leaks and adding insulation in the right places can save an average home around 15% on heating and cooling costs. But I am not telling anyone my age to climb up there in August with a flashlight. Have it inspected if you suspect a problem, especially in an older house. Sometimes the smartest way to help the air conditioner is to fix the house, not the unit. Number 1. Stop asking the air conditioner to fix the house. This last one is not really a trick. It is the lesson underneath all the others. For years I thought cooling the house was the air conditioner's job. If I was uncomfortable, I asked the machine for more. Lower the thermostat. Run it longer. Make the house colder. But an air conditioner can only remove the heat the house keeps handing it. If sunlight is pouring through the windows, air is leaking around the doors. Cool air is escaping through the ducts, or heat is pressing down from the attic. The machine is not failing you. It is being asked to fight the same battle over and over again. That changed the way I think about summer. Before I ask the air conditioner to work harder, I ask one question. What can I do to make the house help? Keep the sun out, keep the cool air in, give the air somewhere to move. Take care of the equipment. Fix the places where the house is working against you. People used to understand that without calling it energy efficiency. They simply knew that the cheapest heat to remove was the heat you never let inside. And at 88, that is still the cooling lesson I trust most. I am not going to tell you to sit in a hothouse just to save money. At my age, comfort matters too much for that. Saving on summer cooling does not always mean using less of what you need. Sometimes it means wasting less of what you are already paying for. A little shade before the sun gets in, a tighter door, a clean filter, a clear vent, a duct that carries the cold air where it is supposed to go. None of those things feel dramatic by themselves. Together, they make a house easier to cool without asking the air conditioner to fight every mistake at once. If you live in an older home, tell me which room gives you the most trouble every summer. When cooler weather comes, many of these same little gaps start stealing heat instead of cool air. And I have learned a few things about that over the years too. If practical household wisdom like this helps you keep your home comfortable without wasting money, subscribe and stay with me. There is still plenty worth remembering.